My name is Lorraine Washington. I'm 71 years old from Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm about to tell you how my daughter Sharon thought she could forge medical proxy documents and convince doctors to disconnect my life support while I was recovering from a stroke, not knowing she'd picked the wrong mother to murder for inheritance money. You see, I'd spent 28 years as a medical social worker at UAB Hospital, specializing in elder abuse cases and medical fraud that taught me exactly how family members manipulate healthcare systems to harm vulnerable patients. It started 4 months ago when I had what doctors called a major ischemic stroke that left me partially paralyzed and unable to speak for 6 weeks. At 71, any stroke is life-threatening, but thank God, my cognitive function remained intact even when my body couldn't respond normally. The doctors at University Hospital kept me in intensive care for 10 days, then moved me to rehabilitation for another month. During my recovery, Sharon visited every day, always asking detailed questions about my end-of-life wishes and whether I'd want to be kept alive if my condition worsened. She'd bring official-looking documents for me to sign, claiming they were insurance paperwork or Medicare forms, pressuring me to authorize them quickly while I was still struggling with speech difficulties. "Mama, you know I only want what's best for you," Sharon would say, hovering over my hospital bed with papers in her hands. "If something happens and you can't speak for yourself, you want me to make the right decisions, don't you? Just sign here so the doctors know your wishes." I should have recognized those weren't insurance forms. They were medical power of attorney documents that would give Sharon complete control over my healthcare decisions, including the authority to discontinue life support, but I trusted my daughter. I'd raised her as a single mother after her father left when she was 8, sacrificed everything to put her through nursing school, and supported her financially for 30 years. The idea that Sharon would try to kill me for inheritance money seemed impossible. The discovery came when I was alone in my room, pretending to sleep, and overheard Sharon talking to my doctor in the hallway outside my door. Dr. Martinez. My mother signed these advance directives before her stroke, stating clearly that she doesn't want to be kept alive on machines if her quality of life is compromised, Sharon was saying in her professional nursing voice. "Ms. Washington, your mother is improving steadily. She's not on life support, and her prognosis is quite good for significant recovery. But doctor, look at her condition. She can barely speak, can't feed herself, and will probably never live independently again." Is that really living? My mother was a proud, independent woman. She wouldn't want to exist in this diminished state. My blood ran cold as I realized what Sharon was doing. She was trying to convince my doctor that I'd rather be dead than disabled, using forged medical proxy documents to gain authority over my care decisions. "Ms. Washington, I understand this is difficult, but your mother is conscious, alert, and responding well to rehabilitation. There's no medical indication for comfort care at this time. Doctor, I'm a registered nurse with 15 years of experience in geriatric care. I know what recovery looks like, and I know what false hope looks like. My mother is suffering, and keeping her alive in this condition is cruel." That night, I lay in my hospital bed processing the magnitude of Sharon's betrayal. My own daughter was trying to have me killed so she could inherit my house, my savings, and my life insurance policies worth $485,000. But Sharon made one fatal mistake in her murder plot. She forgot that her loving mother wasn't just some helpless stroke victim who couldn't fight back. I was Lorraine Washington, who'd spent 28 years at UAB Hospital learning exactly how medical abuse worked and how to document evidence that would send criminals to prison. Sharon thought she was dealing with a dying woman who couldn't expose her crimes. Instead, she'd tried to murder someone who knew exactly how to catch medical criminals and make sure they faced the full consequences of their actions. The investigation was about to begin, and only one of us was walking away alive. Before I tell you how I destroyed Sharon's life and career, you need to understand what she was trying to kill me for and the lifetime of sacrifice that inheritance represented. Every dollar Sharon wanted to steal was earned through honest work and personal sacrifice that she'd watched me make. For her benefit for 43 years, I started working at UAB Hospital in 1985 as a medical social worker, fresh out of graduate school with $45,000 in student loan debt and a 2-year-old daughter to raise alone. While other young mothers relied on family support or remarried for financial security, I was working double shifts, building a career, and creating a stable home for Sharon on my own. By 1995, I'd worked my way up to senior medical social worker in the elder care division, handling complex cases involving family medical disputes, elder abuse, and healthcare fraud. My salary had grown to $52,000 annually, decent money for Alabama in those days, but every extra penny went toward Sharon's needs and our future security. When Sharon graduated high school in 2005, I'd saved $35,000 for her college education through 10 years of working overtime, skipping vacations, and living in the same small apartment to keep expenses low. When she chose the University of Alabama nursing program, I took out additional loans to cover the $65,000 total cost of her 4-year degree. "Mama, I promise I'll make you proud," Sharon told me at her graduation ceremony. "This nursing degree is going to change our whole family's future." But Sharon's promises didn't last long after graduation. When she started working as a registered nurse at Birmingham Baptist Hospital in 2009, she was earning $48,000 annually, good money for a new graduate, but she immediately began accumulating debt through expensive lifestyle choices I'd never been able to afford. Instead of building savings like I'd taught her, Sharon was buying luxury clothes, expensive cars, and taking vacations she couldn't afford. Every time she faced a financial crisis, car payments, credit card debt, rent increases, she'd call me for bailout money that came from my carefully managed savings. Over 20 years, I calculated that I'd given Sharon $125,000 in direct financial assistance, college tuition, car down payments, credit card bailouts, rent assistance, and emergency loans she never repaid. Money that came from my medical social worker salary and the retirement, savings I was building for our family security. But my investment in Sharon wasn't just financial, it was emotional and professional. Mentoring that shaped her entire career. I used my connections at UAB to help her find her first nursing job, provided references for promotions, and shared my medical knowledge to help her advance in geriatric nursing. During our Sunday dinners, I'd often discuss difficult cases I was handling. Family members who tried to manipulate medical decisions for financial gain, elder abuse situations involving medical power of attorney fraud, and the legal consequences facing criminals who preyed on vulnerable patients. Sharon, the worst cases I see are family members who view their elderly relatives as financial burdens instead of people deserving respect and care, I'd tell her during our weekly visits. When children start seeing their parents as inheritance opportunities rather than family, that's when terrible things happen. Sharon would nod sympathetically and agree that elder abuse was terrible, never revealing that she was taking mental notes about exactly how medical manipulation worked and how families gained control over vulnerable patients' healthcare decisions. When I retired from UAB in 2018 after 33 years of service, my pension was worth $30,200 monthly, and I'd accumulated $285,000 in retirement savings. I owned my Birmingham house free and clear, now worth $180,000, and had $200,000 in life insurance policies that would provide financial security for Sharon after my death. My total estate was worth $485,000, built through 3 decades of honest work, careful saving, and personal sacrifice for my daughter's benefit. My will, drafted by an estate attorney in 2020, left everything to Sharon with the understanding that she'd earned her inheritance through being a loving, devoted daughter. But apparently, waiting for natural inheritance wasn't acceptable to Sharon. She wanted access to my money immediately, and she was willing to commit murder to get it. The stroke that should have brought us closer together had instead revealed Sharon's true character. She saw my medical vulnerability as an opportunity to accelerate her inheritance timeline by convincing doctors to let me die. That was Sharon's choice. Now she was about to learn what happened when you tried to murder someone who'd spent nearly 3 decades learning exactly how medical abuse prosecution worked and how to build cases that sent criminal family members to prison. What I discovered next revealed that Sharon's attempt to disconnect my life support wasn't a recent decision based on concern about my recovery. It was a carefully planned murder scheme she'd been developing since my stroke diagnosis, using her nursing expertise and my medical vulnerability to execute the perfect family killing. The morning after overhearing Sharon's conversation with Dr. Martinez, I did what any experienced medical social worker would do when facing healthcare fraud. I activated the investigative skills that had made me legendary in elder abuse prosecution. If Sharon was plotting to kill me, there would be evidence, and I was going to document everything before she could execute her murder plan. My first step was securing recording equipment to capture Sharon's criminal conversations. I contacted Marcus Thompson, a private investigator I'd worked with on dozens of medical abuse cases during my UAB career, and asked him to provide covert recording devices. "Lorraine, do you think your daughter is planning something serious?" Marcus asked during his visit to my hospital room. "Marcus, I think my daughter is planning to murder me for insurance money, and I need evidence before she convinces my doctors to disconnect life support I don't even need." Within 24 hours, Marcus had installed recording equipment in my hospital room and provided me with a small digital recorder that looked like a medical alert device. Every conversation Sharon had with doctors, nurses, and family members would be documented and legally admissible in criminal proceedings. The recordings I captured over the next week revealed Sharon's murder plot was far more sophisticated than I'd initially realized. "Dr. Martinez, I've been researching my mother's condition extensively," Sharon said during one recorded conversation. "Patients with her level of stroke damage rarely achieve meaningful recovery. The longer we delay comfort care decisions, the more she'll suffer. Ms. Washington, your mother is making excellent progress in physical therapy. Her speech is improving daily, and she's regaining motor function ahead of schedule. Doctor, I understand medical optimism, but I also understand realistic prognosis. As her healthcare proxy and as a geriatric nurse, I believe continuing aggressive treatment is prolonging her suffering unnecessarily." Sharon was systematically building a medical case for discontinuing my care, using her nursing credentials to appear credible while pressuring doctors to accept her authority over my healthcare decisions. But the most damaging evidence came when I recorded Sharon talking to her boyfriend, Kevin, during what she thought was a private conversation in my hospital room while I pretended to sleep. "Kevin, the insurance policies alone are worth $200,000, plus the house and her retirement accounts," Sharon whispered. "If the doctors agree to comfort care, this could all be over within a week." "What if she recovers more than expected?" Kevin asked. "She won't. I've researched the medications they're giving her. If I adjust the dosing slightly, it could cause complications that would justify more aggressive comfort care measures." My blood turned to ice as I realized Sharon was planning to poison me with medication adjustments that would worsen my condition and provide medical justification for ending my life. "Kevin, I've spent 15 years working in geriatric care. I know exactly what signs doctors look for when families request comfort care. I just need to create the right medical picture." That afternoon, I called my estate attorney, Robert Williams, from the hospital phone and asked him to meet me immediately for an emergency legal consultation. Robert, I need to discuss Sharon's authority over my medical decisions and some irregularities I've discovered in documents she's been asking me to sign. When Robert arrived, I played him selected recordings that proved Sharon's murder conspiracy and showed him the forged medical proxy documents she'd pressured me to sign while I was suffering from speech difficulties. Lorraine, your daughter is planning to commit murder using fraudulent medical power of attorney documents, Robert said after reviewing the evidence. This isn't just medical abuse. This is attempted homicide with sophisticated planning. Robert immediately filed emergency legal motions to revoke any medical authority Sharon claimed and appointed an independent medical advocate to oversee my healthcare decisions. But I wanted more than legal protection. I wanted Sharon to face criminal prosecution for attempting to murder me. That evening, I called Detective Lisa Santos from the Birmingham Police Department's Elder Abuse Division, a law enforcement officer I'd worked with on dozens of medical fraud cases during my hospital career. Lisa, I need to report attempted murder by a family member using medical power of attorney fraud, and I have recordings of the entire conspiracy. Sharon thought she was dealing with a helpless stroke victim who couldn't expose her murder plot. Instead, she tried to kill a retired medical social worker who'd spent 3 decades learning exactly how to document evidence and build criminal cases against family members who preyed on vulnerable patients. The investigation was about to become a prosecution, and Sharon's nursing career was about to end with a murder conviction. The next morning, I did something that broke my heart but saved my life. I provided law enforcement with everything they needed to arrest my own daughter for attempted murder, medical fraud, and elder abuse. The evidence I'd gathered wasn't just enough to protect me. It was enough to send Sharon to prison for decades and destroy the nursing career I'd sacrificed everything to provide her, Detective. Lisa Santos had never seen a medical murder case with such comprehensive evidence. Lorraine, your daughter's recorded conversations admit to conspiracy to commit murder, medical fraud, and systematic elder abuse. This is going to result in serious felony charges. Lisa, I want Sharon prosecuted to the full extent of the law. She tried to kill me for insurance money, and she used the medical knowledge I helped her acquire to plan my murder. That afternoon, Lisa coordinated with the Alabama Department of Public Health to begin an immediate investigation of Sharon's nursing license. Under state law, medical professionals who attempted to harm patients through fraudulent medical decisions faced automatic license suspension and criminal prosecution. But criminal charges were only the foundation of my strategy. I wanted Sharon to lose everything she'd built using the education and opportunities I'd provided her. My next call was to the Alabama Board of Nursing, the regulatory body that governed nursing practice statewide. I filed formal complaints documenting Sharon's attempted murder, medical fraud, and violation of professional nursing ethics. Mrs. Washington, nurses convicted of crimes involving patient harm face permanent license revocation and lifetime prohibition from practicing nursing, the board investigator explained. We'll be coordinating with criminal prosecutors to ensure appropriate professional consequences. I also contacted Birmingham Baptist Hospital, where Sharon worked in geriatric care. The administration needed to know they had a potential murderer providing direct patient care to vulnerable elderly patients. Mrs. Washington, we appreciate you bringing this to our attention immediately, the hospital administrator said. Any employee under investigation for elder abuse and attempted murder will be suspended, immediately pending criminal resolution. The criminal investigation expanded rapidly when detectives discovered Sharon had been researching how to manipulate medical equipment and alter medication dosages to cause life-threatening complications in stroke patients. Her internet search history revealed months of preparation for executing the perfect medical murder. Lorraine, your daughter has been studying how to cause medication interactions that would appear accidental but would justify comfort care decisions, Detective Santos reported. She's been planning this murder since your stroke diagnosis. Within 1 week, Sharon was arrested at Birmingham Baptist Hospital during her nursing shift, handcuffed in front of colleagues and patients, and charged with attempted murder, elder abuse, medical fraud, and conspiracy to commit homicide. The local news coverage was devastating to her professional reputation. Birmingham nurse charged in plot to kill mother for insurance money was the headline in the Birmingham News, with details about Sharon's sophisticated murder scheme and the recordings that documented her criminal planning. But the most satisfying justice came from the professional licensing consequences. Sharon's nursing license was immediately revoked. Her name was added to the National Practitioner Data Bank as a healthcare criminal, and she would never work in medical care again. The federal investigation revealed Sharon's case was part of a larger pattern of family members using medical authority to harm elderly relatives for financial gain. The FBI Elder Fraud Task Force used her case as a training example for healthcare institutions nationwide. Sharon's murder trial lasted 3 weeks, with my recorded evidence providing the prosecution's main case. The jury heard Sharon's own voice admitting to planning my death and calculating the insurance money she'd received from murdering me. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant's own words prove her intent to commit murder for financial gain, prosecutor Jennifer Martinez stated during closing arguments. She used her medical training to plan the perfect family killing, not knowing her intended victim was recording everything. The verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all charges. Sharon was sentenced to 25 years in state prison without possibility of parole, plus permanent restitution for all medical and legal expenses related to her murder conspiracy. But the criminal conviction was only the beginning of Sharon's complete life destruction. The civil consequences and community shame would follow her forever. Birmingham's medical community was horrified that a trusted geriatric nurse had attempted to murder her own mother for inheritance money. The case became mandatory training for all healthcare workers about recognizing and reporting elder abuse by family members. Sharon thought she was murdering a helpless stroke victim who couldn't fight back or expose her crimes. Instead, she'd tried to kill a retired medical social worker who'd spent 28 years learning exactly how to build criminal cases against family members who preyed on vulnerable patients. The final destruction of Sharon's life unfolded exactly as the criminal justice system intended, with systematic precision that left her imprisoned, professionally ruined, and permanently marked as a daughter who tried to murder her own mother for insurance money. Today, Sharon is serving year 3 of her 25-year sentence at Tutwiler Prison for Women, with no possibility of parole until 2047. She'll be 58 years old when she's eligible for release, having spent the prime of her life in prison for attempting to kill the mother who'd sacrificed everything for her success. But the criminal conviction was only the beginning of Sharon's permanent destruction. The professional licensing consequences marked her for life as a healthcare criminal who could never be trusted with patient care. Again, the Alabama Board of Nursing permanently revoked her license and placed her on the National Practitioner Data Bank, ensuring that no healthcare facility in America would ever employ her again. Every background check for the rest of her life would show her conviction for attempting to murder a vulnerable patient. The Birmingham medical community responded with horror and determination to prevent similar crimes. UAB Hospital established the Lorraine, Washington Elder Protection Protocol, training all staff to recognize signs of family medical abuse and requiring independent medical advocates for vulnerable patients whose family members request comfort care decisions. Mrs. Washington's case opened our eyes to how medical professionals can abuse their knowledge to harm family members. Dr. Martinez explained during the protocol announcement, no patient should ever face murder attempts by the people who claim to love them most. The community response throughout Birmingham was swift and decisive. Word spread quickly that Sharon Washington had tried to murder her own mother for inheritance money, using her nursing expertise to plan the perfect medical killing. That girl brought shame on her entire family and profession, Sister Johnson told me after Sunday service at 16th Street Baptist Church, trying to kill Miss Lorraine, who raised her alone and put her through nursing school. That's the kind of evil that stays with you to the grave. But I wasn't finished seeking justice yet. I wanted Sharon to understand the complete scope of what she'd lost through her murderous choices and what her betrayal had cost our family forever. 6 months after her sentencing, I wrote Sharon one letter in prison, the only communication I would ever send. Sharon, by now you've spent 3 years in prison thinking about your decision to try to murder me for insurance money. I thought you should know what your betrayal accomplished. Your nursing career is over forever. Your license has been permanently revoked, and you're listed in national databases as a healthcare criminal. When you're released in 22 years, you'll never work in medical care again. Your reputation in Birmingham is destroyed permanently. Everyone knows you tried to kill your own mother for $200,000. No decent employer will ever hire you, and no respectable person will ever trust you. But here's what I really want you to understand. Your murder attempt didn't destroy me. It revealed your true character and saved other families from the monster I raised. I've used my recovery to help establish elder protection, protocols that will prevent other children from murdering their parents the way you tried to murder me. Every elderly patient who receives independent medical advocacy because of the Lorraine Washington protocol represents a life you failed to take and a family you failed to destroy through medical murder. You thought you could kill me and inherit the money I'd spent 40 years earning to provide for your future. Instead, you've ensured that other families will be protected from criminals exactly like you. Your mother is dead to you now, just like you wanted me to be dead to everyone else. The woman writing this letter is Lorraine Washington, an elder abuse survivor who spent 28 years teaching medical professionals how to catch family members who prey on vulnerable patients. Don't contact me when you get out. Don't expect forgiveness or reconciliation. You made your choice when you decided murder was easier than earning your own way in life. Today, I'm 74 years old, living independently in my Birmingham home, with complete recovery from my stroke and an estate now worth $520,000 after legal expenses and continued investments. The insurance money Sharon tried to steal through murder has grown through careful management. Ensuring my financial security for life, I used part of the money to establish the Sharon Washington Memorial Fund for Elder Medical Protection, ironically named after the daughter who tried to kill me, providing legal advocacy for elderly patients whose families are pressuring doctors to discontinue care for financial reasons. People sometimes ask if I feel guilty about sending my own daughter to prison for 25 years. But I sleep peacefully every night, knowing I survived a murder attempt and taught Sharon the most important lesson of her criminal life. When you try to kill the people who love you, you lose everything worth living for. Sharon thought she'd found the perfect victim in her elderly mother recovering from a stroke. Instead, she learned that some mothers spent their careers learning exactly how to catch medical criminals and make sure they never hurt vulnerable patients again. The last thing I want to say is this: trust your instincts, document everything, and never assume family members won't try to kill you for money. When your own children become your enemies, survival isn't personal. It's justice served exactly as it should be. Because when people you raised try to murder you, protecting yourself isn't revenge. It's exactly what they deserve. Thank you for listening to today's story from Granny Story Corner. Life teaches us lessons in the most unexpected ways, doesn't it? If this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more real-life tales that remind us of our shared humanity. Until next time, may your own story be filled with wisdom and love.